super excited. This is my first real live video about the gel. Chuck and I have been on it for a good number of months now.
Yeah.
And we've kind of been secretly hinting to some people that we're on the gel, and we're ready to share it with everyone and how amazing it is. So thank you so much for taking the time to doing this live video with us.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here. Absolutely. I shaved and everything.
I want you to introduce everyone who you are and tell us, what is this gel?
So we met years ago. I met Chuck many years ago in the real estate industry. I've been an agent and investor for, I guess, coming up on 14 years now. Course creator, ran numerous meetups, started real estate investing schools locally. So I've done a lot in the world of real estate. And about a year ago, a good friend of the family who owns a title company up in North Jersey basically called me up, and he said he's working with a startup company out of San Francisco, and they have a product that he's never heard of before. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, well, it's a gel. It's human growth hormone. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean a gel? Because see, I had to stop because I have a very intimate knowledge of that because my son takes the shots, right? So, and the reason for that is, for those of you who don't know, I have triplets. I have 3 16-year-old boys. And I guess he started on it about 6 years ago because he wasn't growing like his brothers. He was, he was always the shorter one, but it really became apparent year after year that he was growing a little bit, don't get me wrong, but just we were starting to think something was wrong. So we took him to the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, and they ran all the tests, and they tested the pituitary, and it turns out he has a growth hormone deficiency. His body just wasn't producing it. Wanted to put him on the shots. Now, I, being a father and nervous, I just, you think, well, growth hormone, isn't that going to make everything grow? Well, could it make him grow cancer? Or, you know what I mean? And I come to find out that when it's administered properly under doctor supervision and tested and all that stuff, that there's never actually been a direct correlation between growth hormone shots and cancer. And as you know, the other way people think about it, they think about Hollywood, right? You think about Halle Berry and Jennifer Aniston and Sylvester Stallone and so many of them who have actually admitted, yes, we take human growth hormone. Now, they got to go to the doctor and get a needle every day, and it's extremely expensive. And so it's really out of touch for most Americans. So for me, I kind of had a real good understanding of what human growth hormone was. I just never heard of it in a gel. I mean, that was kind of weird. I was like, wow, it's kind of cool. You don't have to take a needle. And for me personally, in 2011, I got a surgery. I got a major knee operation, a reconstructive surgery. And the doctor at the time suggested that as an option, I could get on the growth hormone shots. If I remember correctly, it was $1,800 a month, and I'd have to go there for a needle every day. And I was like, no thanks. I didn't want to spend that kind of money, and I really wasn't about taking a needle every day either. So I said, no, thank you. So for the last 7 years, I've had the knee issues. I said, look, man, maybe it'll help. I've never heard of this gel stuff before. I said, but let me get a bottle and try it because maybe it'll help my knee. And I guess it was about 3.5, closer to 4 weeks in, I woke up one day and my knee didn't hurt. Every day I woke up and I would have a lot of stiffness in the knee, and I have arthritis in the knee from all the surgeries.
Right. And
it wasn't sore like it was for 7 years. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, well, it just doesn't hurt. I mean, could it be the gel? I mean, obviously that's the only thing different, right? But it was kind of cool. And I was like, I said, this is really amazing. And then people I know, I started telling, hey, listen, you got a bad shoulder, you got to try this. Oh, I lost 7 pounds without trying, right? I started sleeping through the night like my teenage sons. Like literally, you remember when you're a kid, remember when you're young and you lay your head on the pillow and you roll over and you look at the clock and like 7, 8 hours went by? You're like, whoa, like it was just like a snap. Started literally sleeping like that again. I'm like, so I'm sleeping better. I have more energy throughout the day. My knee doesn't hurt anymore. This is incredible. And so again, really strange for me because it has nothing to do with real estate, right? I mean, completely outside of real estate. But I said, this is really interesting because when he first approached me, he said, Brian, this is an entrepreneur through and through, very, very successful man. And like I said, good friend of the family. And, he first approached me about a business. He said, I'm working with a startup, it's going to go viral. It's a multi-million-dollar opportunity. And I'm like, let's just get my knee. Let's see if it helps my knee first. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So that's the story. That's kind of how I came to know about this and why I started using it. And, to this day now I'm squatting. I'm going snowboarding here in Italy in a few weeks when I go over there. And these are things, guys, that I haven't been able to do for 7 years. So just speaking about the product and what it does, it absolutely changed my life,
Yes.
So I think most adults, most working professionals, whether you're in real estate or whatever you're doing, you got your family, you have your obligations, people are tired. I mean, and that's, I think, pretty much universal in our country across the board. People are stressed, they're tired. And that's the other thing I found out was really interesting because when I found out that this gel here, it's not just human growth hormone, but they have two other major ingredients, right? So the founder, who's this brilliant guy who I was just with this past weekend, put thyroidinum in it, which is basically thyroid support, which regulates your weight, your hormones, right? And then, of course, the adrenal support. And what I found out is that most Americans, without knowing it, are suffering from adrenal fatigue. And they say that our adrenal glands, which sit on top of our kidneys, should be about the size of a kidney bean, but most Americans have adrenal glands the size of like the tip of a ballpoint pen, suffering from adrenal fatigue. And when you're suffering from that, which I think most Americans are, you're just tired. You're in a fog, right? You're busy, you're running around, you're always drinking coffee, your energy drinks. And so to have those relax and go back to a normal size, it's quite remarkable. And I think it's one of those, it reminds me of an old saying, I didn't know I had a headache until the pain went away. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
Kind of cool. And interestingly enough, it seems to me, you know, Janet, that more women than men, I mean, men, of course, have human, right? Human growth hormone for both, but more women than men are really flocking to this that I've seen because of the anti-aging, which really is a misnomer. That you can't age backwards, but you know what I mean? Like the reduction in wrinkles and, you know, everything from pre and postmenopausal symptoms going away and things like that, which I know you're too young. You don't have to worry about that, right? But it's
But let me tell you, when Joe came up to me and says, hey, Janet, do you want to sleep better and have more energy? And I was thinking, look, I sleep just fine. I feel like I have just enough energy. Like, I'm good. And then I saw him a couple of months later, and I was like, whoa, Joe, what have you been doing? Because he aged in reverse. And I was like, all right, I'm in.
yeah, exactly.
If you can make me look better, then yes, let's do this.
Well, I was just having this discussion with a woman up in Massachusetts this weekend. She said, Brian, she said, think about this. Think about how popular Botox is these days. You know, something that nobody ever heard of or even really knew existed for the most part 20 years ago. You have teenagers literally going for Botox, right? I mean, you know, like it's crazy. It's just, it's so common because, oh my God, I see a wrinkle. Let me inject some, you know, but whatever it is, botulism or something like that, right? But the point is that the longevity movement is really growing up, you know, as the baby boomers are now hitting those ages and more people are in their 50s, 60s retirement age. You know, if you think about it, think about 50 years ago, what the average 50, 60-year-old looked like, and think about how they look today. It's amazing, right? Like they look old. You look at old pictures of your grandparents when they're in their 50s and they look just old. But today it's like people are taking care of themselves better. People are more informed about eating properly and, you know, making better lifestyle, you know, choices, of course. But when you introduce a product like this and over the counter, and that's, I think, you know, from the business perspective, once I really wrapped my head around it, which took a couple months and I was a little slow to kind of catch on, but I started thinking, you know, this is something that you can't get anywhere. If you want human growth hormone, you have to go to a doctor and take needles and spend thousands of dollars. We have a product here which is exclusive because other than going to the doctor, the only way to get it is with this product. And you don't need to take a needle. And it's registered with the FDA. And I started putting two and two together and I was like, wow, you know, I'm really busy with real estate and running all these real estate investing schools, but I really think that this is something I do want to put myself in front of because I see where the trend is going. And like anything in life, I mean, what is opportunity other than really capitalizing on the proper timing, right? Now, for you guys, as busy as you are and all, you know, running the rehabs that you're running, which I hear it's almost done, Chuck, right?
Yeah, that's started another one as well. We've got three going at the same time. So
you got 3 rehabs going. A lot of people who are watching, you know, I would imagine people that are following us are also in real estate. One of the things that a pattern that I've seen for years when I ran my real estate coaching mentoring program, and I've coached hundreds and hundreds of people, you know, one of the biggest reasons that people want to get involved in real estate is to, number one, write their own ticket, right, so to speak. I mean, they determine how much money they're going to make. But the problem, the challenge, I should say, that I've witnessed a lot is that how do you fit it in? And then once somebody goes full time, so if you look at a full-time real estate agent, if you look at a full-time real estate investor, the problem becomes living between closings. So you have your closing and you get this check, but now you literally have nothing coming in until the next check, until the next closing. And that applies to being an agent. It applies to being an investor. It applies to being a loan officer. You're literally living between closing and closing. And those closings could be great, but when you're playing catch up to pay the bills that you couldn't pay because you were waiting for the deal to close, it creates these gaps in income. And I saw that, and it's funny because I would counsel these people back then. I'd say, listen, you may need to take a part-time job, maybe consider driving Uber, because they really wanted to do this in real estate, but they couldn't make it through those gaps, especially when you have kids and expenses. So what I saw here was a way for people in the real estate industry as at large to be able to fill in those gaps, to create that passive income stream, keep flipping houses. In fact, if you didn't have to worry about it as much, you'd probably be able to do more houses, right? And so that's the message that I've been sharing for the last 11 months. And that's part of the reason it's grown so quickly and gone so viral, because being in this industry as long as I have, I know what a true value add that is for people. And, you know, everybody likes to play the big shot and put the ego in the way, but the reality is making it between closings is tough. It's tough, you know?
Yes,
so,
it is. So we're really excited that it is going viral, and it's just the beginning.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. I'll talk on that just for a real quick second here. I know we want to keep this short, but you know, when you have a product that's a category changer that you can't get anywhere else, and you put yourself in front of a trend like this that's going viral, it's going to take a lot to screw it up. You know, when you look at the statistics that we have over 1,000 doctors on board now with us nationwide, when you take a look at the fact that it is still in a pre-launch phase and the majority of people don't know this exists, it really is just putting all the stars in alignment, you know? And the longer I'm working in this business and working with people, I hear so many people that they get excited. You know, when you're 70 years old, like Bridget, and their doctor says, you don't need the hip replacement surgery anymore. When my son's here that I get to go snowboarding with them again, something like, they're 16, man, to give them their dad back to be able to go snowboarding and stuff like that I couldn't do for 7 years. I mean, how do you put a price on that? Now you take a look at the benefits, and every single human being, in my opinion, over the age of 30, if they only knew about this product, would absolutely be on it. So where you take the business side is now, we just simply get paid for telling them it exists. Exactly. That's it. And I thought, wow, I don't have to sell product. I'm not running around selling stuff. I'm not going to meetings for this type. Everything is literally done with your cell phone. So you could be on your couch and just sending messages and sharing what we're doing here. And my God, I mean, what an awesome business. Because look, let's be honest, people are busy. And the last thing most people want to do is add something else to their plate. So when I tell them in a fraction, like hardly any time at all, you can, you know, I would suggest everybody just start with using the product. Use it and watch what it does for you. When you see how it changes your life and how you feel, you almost can't keep it to yourself, because there's people in your life that you know would help, that are suffering, you know, people that have the joint issues like myself and all the other stuff. And it's really cool. You know, one other thing I noticed, which was a side benefit, is the vision. I was very proud of myself for always having, you know, perfect vision after I got the LASIK back in 2006. But even further in the distance, you know, 2020 is wonderful, right? But then I noticed it. Now, this is about 5-6 months in, so it took a little bit longer. But I noticed in Italy, at my house in Italy, particularly sitting at this one outside restaurant, that the trees out in the background where, like, there's this bridge that goes across, I couldn't see that before. Like, it was crystal clear. And when I got my vision checked, now it's 2010. So my vision actually improved. And that's documentable. Like, that's not just like some placebo effect. Like, my vision literally improved. We hear guys that are in their 50s, you know, older than us, of course, and they don't need their readers anymore, right? Like, and it just goes on and on. So
it goes on and on and on. And there's so many wonderful benefits. And one that was surprising to me that I did not expect, because I didn't see it list, was I've been having really bad issues with acid reflux. And it got to the point where I couldn't travel or go a night without taking a Rolate or a Tum. And then all of a sudden I noticed I haven't taken any. And I was like, wait, do you think this is because of the gel?
Everybody says that. It's so funny. Hey, could it be from there, you know? And look, it's not, and we have to be very careful, of course, with the FDA. It's, you know, we're not saying it cures anything. It doesn't, you know, we have to be very careful of that. But when you have a personal testimony of what it's done for you, and you could say, hey, listen, this acid reflux is much better. I don't need to take those Tums anymore. When I can say I can run and snowboard, I couldn't do that before. That's something that not only are we allowed to say, but we have to say, because there's so many other people out there that, you know, would like to get the benefits of this. And that's why we want to do this quick live tonight. So I guess anybody that's watching this on the replay, right? Or anybody that, you know, maybe if you've been watching live, obviously get back to Chuck and Janet, and they can get you the gel. And if you're interested in learning how to make some money with it, they can talk to you about that too.